It has been more than 3 months since the day Russia attacked Ukraine, and our lives changed into before and after. Ukrainian people literally faced life or death situation, while Russians faced more like economical and huge moral dilemmas. Today I'm going to talk with Natasha, a Russian YouTuber from the city of Khabarovsk, which is literally thousands of kilometers from St. Petersburg city, where I'm staying right now. I actually met Natasha once when I was traveling Trans-Siberian, and we recorded a video about our experience of living in Russia after spending a lot of time abroad. And today we are going to discuss a more tragic topic. Hi Natasha, how are you doing?
Hello, Nikki. I'm fine, as much as it can be. Thank you for inviting me to this video.
I'm glad you're here to have a talk. Today we are going to talk about how how your life changed after February 24th. Basically, how that was before and after for you. I live in St. Petersburg city, you live in Khabarovsk city, which is so far away from here. I'm really curious about your perspective about all the things happening this month. The first question to you is, when the war started, what was your first reaction? How was the situation in your city on that day?
Unlike people in the western part of Russia who learned about this in the morning, I learned about this in like the middle of the day, and I think that my reaction was I first didn't understand how serious it is. I thought it is something, well, it will end in like 2 days. Then I began to see how many people online were reacting to this, how everybody was just shocked, and only after that I began to panic due to, I don't know, it was a very fast consequences of different events and thoughts in my head.
I learned that exactly in the morning. It was like 5 a.m. in the morning when it all started. I woke up around 9 or even 10, and I didn't read news for the first couple of hours after awakening. And once I read it, I'm like, what is going on? Like, is it for real? And I think I got into such kind of fight or flight mode where I couldn't just stay in the same place doing nothing, and I was like walking around my room, which is quite tiny over here, and thinking like, should I do anything? What could I do? Did you see any protests in your city? Because in St. Petersburg, here where I live, we had like really massive protests. Thousands of people got outside in the evening, like 7 p.m. or something around that, and I really witnessed like a lot of people showing their disagreement with what's going on between Russia and Ukraine that day.
Yeah, that time I watched your TikTok live, and probably it was that time when when we all were still able to freely walk in the protest and film it, while now it's more limited according to the new laws and restrictions. And in my city, in Khabarovsk, there were no protests that very first day. I think that for us, for the majority of people here, this whole situation still has not reached, and they still don't understand what's going on. And in the first days there were no protests, but of course there was a big protest going on in my mind and soul. And since the first days, I could not discuss it with anybody here in the city, but I have like networking online. I have a chat of friends, of like-minded people online, and it's like a chat of Russian students who participated in the exchange program with me, and we all were shocked, and this chat actually really helped me because we were discussing this, all sharing our thoughts. And yeah, there were no protests in the first days, but there was a big protest on Sunday.
I remember that Sunday in St. Petersburg, it also was massive, even bigger than the first day of protesting. And I believe it was same for any other city in Russia. Did you go to the protest yourself?
No, I didn't go there, and I regretted about this afterwards. But honestly, I was scared even to go there. Like on that day, there was a negotiation in my mind because I couldn't decide, should I take this risk. But one of my friends, she went to the protest, and she was like messaging me while she was there. She sent me the video showing that there were about 30 people who came there, and even though I didn't go there, I was useful in a different way. So of course they were detained. About half of the people there were detained, and when she and other, there were like young girls. They were sitting in the car, in the paddy wagon that was going to take them to the police office. She asked me to call to the OVD Info, the organization that provides the detainees with legal assistance. And I felt that I at least did something. So I called to the OVD Info, I reported all the names of the detained people and the number of the police office where they're being taken to. And also I sent her, to my friend, I sent to her like instructions, messages, how to behave, what to say, what not to say. And after that she said that it was really helpful to her. And yeah, after 3 hours they were released. And then there was in several days there was a court, like a trial, and they were fined. She got 20,000 rubles fine, which is like a monthly salary in Russia. And yeah, if she gets detained one more time, the punishment will be even harder. There will be a bigger amount of money, and not only an administrative protocol that was drawn upon her, but maybe something more serious, because now there are crazy regulations and laws that make it really dangerous.
I also feel that with all these recent regulations, it's much more risky to join any kind of protest, offline or online, and many people became like really aware of what they post, what they say. And I actually have a friend of mine whose brother got detained 2 times in one day during the first day of protest. First for going to protest itself, and he got detained for like a couple of hours and then freed without any fines, without any jail time. But once he came back home, another police took him to another police department because he actually made a post writing that he's going to protest, and he had like 60 or 80 friends on his VK social network, so he got 1 week of jail time for that. And after this, when I hear somebody just got detained for a couple of hours and got a fine for, let's say, 20,000 rubles, I think that is actually a fortunate outcome, because things might be much worse even for the first time. Natasha, another question for you. You're a YouTuber with really huge audience, and I think for you it might be even more intimidating to share your opinions, to share anything online. Is that true or not? Like, how do you feel about having a huge audience and having an opportunity to speak out for so many people?
In the first days, I was really scared because I also posted a couple of posts on my Instagram that I then deleted. Then I recovered one of them, and I'm mostly, my audience is a foreign audience. So even if I speak up, I first put myself in danger, and second, I don't even reach minds of Russian people because the percentage of Russian subscribers on YouTube is like 3% in my case. I felt scared because obviously the things that I want to say, I cannot say them right now while I'm still in Russia. And for some reasons I have to be here. I hope that in the future I will be able to compensate something that my government did in many ways, in financial way, just spreading awareness. I want to do this not only because this is like a good picture for my channel, but because I personally feel responsible for this. I feel that I will feel better if I do something. Like, there's one of my YouTuber's friends who left Russia, and now he is going to protest in his country where he is now. He is talking about this really openly, and I would like to be able to do the same. I also wanted to add something about the previous question, about the protests. That it is really sad for me that here in Khabarovsk there are not so many huge protests, because in 2020 our city got really popular, became famous for the huge protests that happened here. It's like 30,000 people were protesting in Khabarovsk because of the arrest of the local governor, but not even only because of this. Just people were generally outraged by what has been happening in Russia for years. And these protests became famous even not only in Russia but in the whole world. And now what we see, like 15 or 30 people, and this is just really sad to see how it really shows that even in such remote areas, people know what is happening. They want to protest, they can protest, but they're just scared to go out.
Do you think that most of people actually know what is happening? How do you get your information about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine? And what do you think is the major way for people in Khabarovsk to get information about that?
Like everywhere in Russia, the majority of people is just watching TV. Even if they use the internet, they don't have access to the decent sources of information. So I, of course, don't watch anything of the Russian propaganda TV. I read to that sources that now are considered foreign agents in Russia, or another one that I can access only with VPN. And as you know, many of these resources were just blocked. And for example, the radio, the Echo of Moscow, was just like closed. My subscribers ask me, Natasha, but when the government is closing all these media outlets, don't people feel that there's something wrong going on? So probably people in other countries think that Russian people will start thinking about this. But the thing is that people, the majority of them, didn't even know about these news outlets anyway. I mean, about the independent media. They were always reading and obtaining this information from the governmental sources. And in the first days, when, you know, this all was in my head, like all these crazy thoughts, all this shock, I was going out and I tried to see the same feeling in the eyes of people around me, but it seemed to me that nobody cared. They were living their usual life, they didn't care about this, and at first I felt very angry with that people, like how I just, in my mind, I blamed them like, this is your fault because this is you who voted for Putin, this is like, and it was really outraging that they did not even care about this. It's not that now I feel hatred towards them or feel sorry, I just don't feel anything. In the first days I was walking with a sign on my backpack, you know, that slogan that now is prohibited to use. And I was standing at the bus. There was a man, an old man. He was like, "Oh, you're a freaking pacifist. Who paid you for this?" And I asked him, so if he called me a freaking pacifist, I asked him, so do you support the war? And then another woman asked me, do you support the war? I said, of course no. And then she and that man, they continued talking that, oh, like somebody paid her for this. So these people, the majority of them, they live in such mentality. When they see that somebody is speaking up, they think that, oh, somebody paid you for this. They don't even understand that it's possible to speak up, because for years, in the 90s, in the 2000s, in Russian school, even in Russian school, if you're speaking up, it's something wrong with you, you should not do this, just shut up and be content with what we have. So yeah, the majority of people just watch the propaganda, including my parents. And I try to talk to them, to my parents. It's really sad. Yeah.
Talking about the differences in life, what is the biggest difference for you with all these current events?
There more stress in my life appeared, more anxiety, but at the same time, the biggest the biggest reason that helped me to keep calm was the understanding that I at least have some savings, I have some money that will help me to somehow escape from this situation. Because I mean, I want to leave Russia, and I wanted to do this for a long time, not even because of this event, but longer before this. But now I'm only more confident in my decision that I want to leave Russia. It's like it goes without saying, it always was my goal. But now there are more anxiety because, you know, not any country accepts Russian. Problems with tickets, with visa cards, working abroad, opening bank accounts. So yeah, in comparison with what I felt before the February 24, I think that I began to think more about my future, especially in the first days. Had a lot of reflections on this situation, and I understood a lot of many things about psychology, about propaganda and how it works.
How about people, like people around you? What is the major difference in their daily life right now?
I don't really know because again, I don't communicate with too many people. As for my family, my parents, their life probably has not changed much because anyway they didn't have anything to lose. So they just live in their small town and know that they cannot influence the situation in any way. And probably the only thing that will touch them is the prices rise and the fact and poverty in general. But I'm so glad that I can help them in this. I think that in the Far East, it's like everywhere in Russia because we know how Russia is structured. So there's Moscow, St. Petersburg, and then many remote areas and where people live a little worse. Maybe people will understand something, but when the refrigerators will become empty.
I think you will agree with me, or you will share this feeling that with all this stuff happening, I feel that I belong to this society less than before. Perhaps I didn't think much about that before February, but right now I really feel that I don't really belong, or at least I belong to this place much less than before.
I totally agree with you, and I decided that I want to immigrate from Russia. I decided this several years ago in my teenage years. For some reason, it seemed to me that this is like inevitable. This is the only option for my future life. I saw a lot of misunderstanding in the policies of our government and just people's minds, but I was like used to it. But now it's not only that I'm disgusted by that people, but also I'm literally scared. Like I'm scared of how cruel they are and how stupid they are. Like I will not feel safe working, living together, like being neighbors with such people. If I, for example, stay in Russia and raise my kids here, no, it just feels unsafe. In today's Russia, and I can say it for sure, there's a simple way to understand if a person, whether this person is smart and empathetic. It's really easy now to see your people and not your people. So what I was saying is that unfortunately there is a minority of people who cannot leave Russia or doesn't want to leave Russia, and these people, they share the values that are quite opposite to the governmental agenda and to the sentiments of the majority of Russian people, and I feel sorry for them that they will be repressed and they will be feeling really discriminated here. Even though I leave, I save myself, but I feel really sorry for them. But in this situation, I decide that I first want to save myself and then I want to help others.
I share this opinion too, because you can help more people when you are being well yourself. Do you have any message to share with my audience?
I really, for these days, understood how important it is to be around like-minded people and to show the support to each other. I just want to wish everybody to receive this support and to give it to others. And also, if you can somehow help to those who need, help as much as you can by spreading awareness, financially, maybe volunteering in some like refugee centers donating and so on and so forth. And so let's just be more human to each other.
I actually wonder if you enjoyed this talk, and if yes, who is the next person you want me to talk to? Please do not mention Mr. Putin, it's highly unlikely I'll get a chance to talk with him ever. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe with notification bell. Спасибо and пока.